In today's video, we're getting into the Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment creator's voice. Nintendo has filed trademarks for Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, as well as Prime Hunters and Hotel Dusk. Very interesting, that last one in particular. Fast Fusion had its launch content and post-launch plans detailed. We have a whole lot more information on the UI for Nintendo Switch 2. Fortnite seemingly supports mouse control aiming on Switch 2, which is awesome. It looks like a director's cut of Avatar Frontiers of Pandora might be coming later this year. We'll talk about that. There was a leaked Nintendo Switch game. It looks like Mario Kart World might have some competition later this holiday. And then, yes, I cannot believe I'm actually talking about the next Switch 2 model. However, there is a rumor that Samsung is pushing for Nintendo to use OLED displays on a Switch 2 OLED or a Switch 2 Pro, which we're not even at the launch of this console yet, and we're talking about Switch 2 Pro or OLED, and that doesn't feel right to me, but we gotta do it. So that's what we're getting into today. Of course, if you are new here and you enjoy Nintendo Switch 2 news and content coverage, I would appreciate you subscribing and liking the video. Let's get into it. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the channel. I hope your Tuesday morning is going well. So first things first, it is Tuesday, which means it was time for another Creator's Voice installment. I think this might be our final one. I don't know if there's any others on the docket, but we got a Creator's Voice for Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, the one we've been waiting for. I've been hoping for a while now that this Creator's Voice would give us some more information on the game, maybe more gameplay, a release date, that kind of thing. And unfortunately, it really didn't give us anything. It's just the two developers from Koei Tecmo and AAA Studio talking about, well, the Switch 2 is more powerful. They can put more enemies on the screen. This game is set in the past. You'll get to know the four sages from Tears of the Kingdom a little bit better. But other than that, we didn't really learn anything of note. Unfortunately, they talk about how the Switch 2 is more powerful and how they're excited to, have a higher fidelity Warriors game on a Nintendo platform and have higher frame rates, that kind of thing. The game looks good. I'm excited to play it, but unfortunately, this creator's voice, it's nice to hear them talk about the game and, see their passion. But this creator's voice didn't really tell us, almost anything. Out of all of the creators' voices so far, I think this might be the least informative one. Next up, we had some trademarks renewed for certain games. So Metroid Prime 3 Corruption and Metroid Prime Hunters were renewed on Monday, May 19th. And this is important because, well, people are wondering what's going on with Prime 3 especially. Prime Hunters, not as much. I mean, maybe they could bring Prime Hunters over to the Switch, maybe as part of a DS virtual console service at some point. But where's Prime 2? Why aren't they renewing Prime 2 at this point? It's a little weird. Trademarks don't usually mean anything. I think people are just excited about the potential of these games coming over, so that we're going to talk about it oh, Prime 3 and Prime Hunters might be coming. Maybe they're doing these two and not Prime 2. Maybe that's not getting renewed right now because, well, maybe that's going to be on GameCube and SO, and this is a whole separate thing. I don't really think there's much we can read into this. However, there was another trademark that I think is much more interesting that just happened this morning, and that is a new trademark for Hotel Dusk Room 215 was filed in Japan. Now, this is much more important because it is actually a new trademark. Unlike the Metroid ones, those are just, they're renewing it because they want to, hold onto their trademark, obviously. This is a new trademark, as this person gets into here. So here's a screenshot of the actual Hotel Dusk Room 215 trademark from Nintendo, and it was filed on May 9th and it went public on May 18th or the 19th in Japan. They say you may think this is just a renewal of the old patent, but it doesn't seem to be. In Japan, the game had a different name and it was called Wish Room Angel's Memory. The trademark for Wish Room was renewed in 2015 and is valid until 2026. So this seemingly is just a new trademark for Hotel Dusk. And that is very interesting because if you remember about a week or so ago, we talked about an Arc System Works data breach in which a new game seemingly following in the lineage of Hotel Dusk or another code from that team after another code recollection, that leaked. There is a game called Project Life. It looked most similar to Hotel Dusk. And now we're getting this new patent in Japan about Hotel Dusk Room 215. I think this is not a coincidence, and I do think we will see Hotel Dusk come back, probably as a remake on Switch 2. If another code recollection got its remake, it makes sense for Hotel Dusk to get a remake as well. If you don't know, this is a kind of cult hit DS game from the same developers of Trace Memory and Another Code back in the day. So between this new trademark and between the leak from Arc System Works, I think these types of games are here to stay. I think Nintendo's just bringing them back, which is really cool. I mean, Another Code of Recollection, I had a lot of fun with. I've never played Hotel Dusk, but if that got a full remake in addition to a sequel or a new side project or something, I think that would just be so great. Next up, this is very exciting. Nintendo Life had an exclusive article on a Fast Fusion, the launch title for Switch 2, the sequel to Fast RMX from the original Switch's launch. They say exclusive Fast Fusion will contain 12 tracks, free content update confirmed. All performance modes have also been detailed. So getting into to it here. We have all of the performance modes here. You can see them on screen right now. Performance 1080p 60 HDR, balance for 1440p with 60, mixed for the quality mode, so mixed 4K 1080 alongside 60 FPS and HDR, and then ultra quality for 4K 30 FPS, super sharp visuals, ultra level of detail, ultra quality 4K/8K shadow maps, which is a fantastic handheld mode, 1080 60 HDR or 1080 30 for the ultra quality that has those really high quality shadow maps. They've also said that there will be a patch coming later on that will bring a docked quality mode up to a full 4K 60 FPS, which is awesome. And then they also talked about how they do want to bring a 120 FPS performance mode in a future update. We talked about that in another video. Then we got some new screenshots of the game. This one's weird. They really aren't showing much of it. Like, I have faith in Shin, and they've never really done me wrong. But where's like the proper gameplay trailer? I mean, these screenshots are nice. It's cool to see more of the game. I want more gameplay though. Give me like just 10 minutes of raw gameplay here. And then yeah, talking about the content that'll be there. So there's gonna be 12 tracks at launch, spread over 4 cups. That is a drop from RMX, but keep in mind a large chunk of those tracks were from Fast Racing Neo. RMX only had 6 new courses, so we're getting 12 tracks at launch. Hopefully, part of the free updates are, of course, new tracks, but maybe they go back and bring tracks from Fast Racing Neo. Maybe you get some more Fast RMX tracks added as free post-launch content, because at this point, no one's going to go back to Fast RMX. Just add it all to this game. I think that would be ideal, and it's cool to see them actually confirming post-launch support for what is, yeah, I mean, 12 tracks is pretty small, but also this is a $15 game. Like, it's not the most expensive thing in the world, and since they are promising new content, I think that's pretty great. Next up, let's go over some UI things on the Switch 2, just various bits and pieces that I've gathered over the past couple of days. So reading from Oatmeal Dome here, Oatmeal Dome is a great account to follow. I highly recommend it if you are on Twitter. They say each Nintendo account now has a separate feed in the News app. On the Switch 1, news from all accounts were combined into one feed, which could make the app hard to navigate if you had accounts from different regions. This is what it looks like now. So when you click on it, it'll pop up saying like, hey, click on your profile to view the news feed for that user. This was a pretty big issue for me on Switch because I have like a Japanese account, so I can view the Japanese eShop, a European account to view the European eShop. But more importantly, that Japanese account, that completely destroyed my news feed, and basically all of the news items I was getting on my Switch home screen were in Japanese. Well, now that should not be an issue. We should be able to like actually look through it and use the news app a little bit better here. If you actually like reading the little news tabs, maybe this will get me to do it more. I never really used it too much on Switch 1, but this is a great change in my opinion. We also have confirmation that the capture button on Switch 2 is still going to record up to 30 seconds of gameplay. We don't know if the quality will improve on Switch 1. It's 720p 30 FPS, so if it's still 30 seconds, the hope is that it's a little bit higher quality, at least 1080, right? But honestly, I think it'd be cool if Nintendo just gave us the option, right? I mean, if you have the storage space, I think they should make it so you can record in at least 1440 60. Maybe 4K would be a little bit much, but hopefully the quality of these captures are a little bit improved if it's still going to be locked to 30 seconds. This one is really cool. The Switch 2 GameChat supports live subtitles. The system can transcribe what everyone is saying and display it in the chat box on screen. So if you don't want to talk at the moment, but you want to like hang out with your friends and play Mario Party or something, as demonstrated in this clip, you can actually still just type into the chat and it will read it on screen for you, which is really great. Very cool to see like a chat room like this on a Nintendo console. I wish there was a proper messaging service because clearly Nintendo has that in place. So you have a live chat when you're in game chat and you're doing the party thing there, but why not have just a proper like group chat thing for Switch 2? I don't know. It feels a little weird, but this is a cool feature. And then finally, I wanted to play this in its full so you can hear it. For those of us that are, you know, obsessed with UI stuff, we got a clip from Nintendo Today going over all of these sounds the different icons make on the Switch 2 home screen. This is like a 30-second clip. I'm going to play it real quick. Skip ahead if you don't care what they sound like, but I love like little Nintendo sounds like this. Very Wii era, very 3DS in my mind. Not quite like that, but it's nice to hear these sounds. So here's that clip from Nintendo Today. Okay, I thought this was pretty exciting. You all know me if you've been watching the videos. I I got hands-on with the Switch 2 back in April, and since then I have been gushing about the mouse controls. I want every game to have as many control options as possible because mouse controls are just so great. We're seeing a lot of stuff like Prime 4 use it, but also strategy games like Civ 7 and Nobunaga's Ambition, as well as others, of course. But we have a new rumor suggesting that Fortnite will support mouse mode on Switch 2 as well, which, to be honest, I was kind of expecting, but I figured maybe wouldn't be there immediately. But we know Fortnite is a launch title on the Switch 2. Reading from Go Nintendo here, they say, while not confirmed by Epic just yet, insiders are claiming that the game's latest update hints at mouse mode for the Switch 2 version. Apparently, a new gameplay tag was added in this update to support hybrid mouse controls, and it reads as follows: true if this platform can support hybrid gamepad plus mouse controls. Reading from Archer Fortnite over on Twitter here. This is a pretty prominent Fortnite data miner. There was also stuff in the data suggesting that Fortnite Save the World will be coming to Switch 2 as well, which is actually interesting because I don't think Save the World ever came to Switch 1. That's like the, co-op mode that Fortnite originally was. But yeah, it looks like Fortnite on Switch 2 will have mouse controls, which is just so great because mouse controls in a shooter like this is just going to make the game feel better. And that is one of the best new things about the Switch 2 is that the Joy-Con can be used as a mouse. And it's going to be interesting because, I mean, dude, people are going to have an advantage on Switch 2 over the other consoles. The Switch version is currently, I would say, probably the worst version of Fortnite. We're going from it being the worst version to, I mean, maybe being the best console version of the game, which is just so crazy. But it makes sense. It's good that Epic is working with Nintendo and, it's a launch title. They're getting that update out immediately. And yeah, very cool to see. I will definitely re-download Fortnite just to mess around with the mouse controls with the Joy-Con too. Absolutely. Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora is a game that released on PS5, Series X, and PC at the end of 2023, but according to a new rumor, it looks like it might actually be getting a director's cut, and while the rumor doesn't specifically talk about a Switch 2 version, I think if this is real, if this is actually happening, you can put money on there being a Switch 2 version of Avatar coming later this year. So this is coming from Tom Henderson. Joraptor here on Twitter said, Tom Henderson reports that there is a director's cut of a big game coming out from Ubisoft that should be this year. Tom Henderson thinks it will do pretty well. What do you think it could be? Somebody said, I'm going to guess the Avatar game. Joraptor said this is a good guess with the movie coming, and Tom Henderson replied with the eye emoji. Tom Henderson, of course, very connected, owner of Insider Gaming, right? So this guy would kind of know, and with Summer Games Fest coming up, it just makes sense that these types of things would start leaking, and a director's cut of Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, I'm not really sure what that would really even mean for PS5 and Series X and PC. However, this game is actually developed by the same team that made Star Wars Outlaws. Star Wars Outlaws is coming to the Nintendo Switch. If there is a director's cut of this game, and the intent is to release it before the movie and get more eyes on it, the game didn't do that well initially, having a Switch 2 version would help it so much, and would definitely get me to actually finally play it. This is one that, I don't know, Ubisoft gets a lot of hate, but I think Far Cry is pretty fun, and this looks like a Far Cry game with an Avatar skin on it, so I'm sure it's actually quite a bit of fun. So if this comes to Switch 2 in some sort of director's cut later this year, I will definitely be there, and that would be one of the bigger third-party games on Switch 2 later this year. It's so cool to me that we can talk about a game like this, which I know a lot of people don't care about, but like a, more cutting-edge, like, yeah, next-gen game, like an Avatar open-world Ubisoft game, and actually genuinely talk like, oh yeah, this is probably going to come to Switch 2. So if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments down below. I'll check it out on Switch 2 for sure. I like the Avatar movies quite a bit. I'm excited for the new one. So yeah, this one coming to Switch 2 just feels right to me. I thought this was really funny. So we had a game leak for the Nintendo Switch, and that is Garfield Kart 2 All You Can Drift. We have a massive leak on our hands today, ladies and gentlemen. So I just thought it was funny. First of all, it's called Garfield Kart 2. This would be the third Garfield kart on Nintendo Switch. But also, what is going on this year with kart racers, dude? And just racing games in general. On launch day for Switch 2, we have Mario Kart World, Fast Fusion, and of course F-Zero GX is also there. Later this year, we're getting Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. Now we're getting Garfield Kart 2. I don't know, man. I think these companies that are not Nintendo need to pump the brakes a little bit, because I don't know if a Garfield Kart game right now can coexist with Mario Kart World and even Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. I don't know if Garfield Kart can really coexist here, but this was rated by the Australian classification board, Garfield Kart 2 All You Can Drift. So this is definitely happening. I'm sure an announcement is imminent. Garfield Kart, man. Get hyped. And then for today's final topic, yes, we are talking about a Switch 2 refresh, a mid-gen update for the console. I promise you, I'm not going to be one of those people making Switch 2 Pro videos every time there is a rumor, but since I'm doing these news roundup videos, I thought I would include it because a lot of people were talking about it this morning. This came from Bloomberg. There was a report from them saying that Samsung has enough components to help Nintendo produce 20 million Switch 2s by March 2026, and that they are pushing for an OLED screen refresh. Reading a little bit further here, they say that the Korean company is now working on a customized chip or processor designed by NVIDIA for the Switch 2 using its 8nm node, the people said, asking for anonymity as the matter is private. The production pace should be fast enough for Nintendo to ship more than 20 million units of the console by March next year. That's in stark contrast to their forecast, which was, I think, 15 million. So we will see if that ends up being true. Samsung can ramp up further if needed, though much would depend on the capacity at hardware assemblers, including Foxconn Technology Group. Samsung has been a long prime supplier to Nintendo, providing NAND flash memory and OLED screens to the Switch. The Korean company has also pushed for OLED panels to be used when Nintendo refreshes the Switch 2 in the future, another person said. So we are already talking, this is our first, I would say, one of our first major rumors about a Switch 2 Pro or a Switch 2 OLED. Will we get a Switch 2 Pro or a Switch 2 OLED? Probably. I think the Switch 2 is going to be around maybe even longer than the Switch 1 was, if it even is remotely close to the success of the Switch 1. Of course, I don't think it's going to be at that exact level, but if it does well, I think we're going to be looking at the Switch 2 lasting for a very long time now that Nintendo has more cutting-edge hardware, now that most developers are still, speccing for lower-end PCs. A lot of developers are still making for PS4. I think Switch 2 is going to be around for a long time, maybe longer than Switch 2. So a mid-gen refresh, even if it's not a Switch 2 Pro that has better specs, a Switch 2 OLED that maybe gives you some other bells and whistles, that makes a lot of sense in, let's say, honestly, maybe like 2029, 2030. I just think it's way too soon for us to genuinely be talking about this. We got to get a Switch 2 Lite first. We got to get some sort of cheaper model out there before we start talking about a mid-gen refresh. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but yeah, based on this, it sounds like Samsung is really pushing for Nintendo to get an OLED display on the Switch 2, which, the screen on the Switch 2, from what I played, it's really good. You're not going to have the deep blacks that you get from an OLED screen, but also, it's such a better LCD screen than what the Switch 1 is. It looks more comparable than you think. If you have not gone hands-on with a Switch 2 and you're really bummed about the lack of an OLED, it's not quite to the, quality level of an OLED display, but it being 1080 and it being a better screen in general, it's closer than you would think. So, for me, as much as I want an OLED screen and I would pay more for an OLED screen, I can wait, 5 years. It's fine. I get it. We want to keep the Switch 2 a little bit cheaper right now, $450 without an OLED, that's a little disappointing, I guess, but also it's 120 hertz, which is great. I don't know. I feel like I'm personally pretty content with the Switch 2 and its specs and its screen and everything around it. OLED, I guess, would be the major thing for me that I wish it had, but it's not as big of a deal as I thought it was going to be, having gone hands-on with the console itself back in early April. So let me know what you think of this. Do you think it is time for us to start talking about a Switch 2 refresh? Man, we were finally free. We were finally, light at the end of the tunnel moment. We were going to be done talking about Switch 2 console rumors, and here we are talking about a Switch 2 OLED. Jesus, man. So that is going to do it for today's video. Let me know your thoughts on all of these stories and more in the comments down below. Apologies for no video yesterday. Was very busy doing some other stuff, prepping videos for It's Amiibo. Definitely check out that channel. I'll have that link down below. I posted a video today ranking every Switch 2 launch title from my most hype to least hype. I made a video yesterday going over some GameStop deals. So definitely go check out It's Amiibo if you want more videos from me. And of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch 2 news, content coverage, all that fun stuff. I would appreciate you liking the video as well. You can follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames. Check out the Discord. That'll be linked down below. I want to start promoting that a little bit more, get more people talking about Nintendo in the community. And as always, you can click on one of these two videos to listen to me ramble about even more Nintendo stuff. Until next time, folks, peace.